One of the key things that you need to get right when writing academic texts, be it your thesis, research papers, or maybe you're writing assignments for university courses, is paragraphs. This is really important because paragraphs are basically the basic building blocks of your text. They're literally like those universal Lego blocks that you can plug in into any text, and if done correctly, they allow you to build beautiful structures out of these universal Lego blocks. But if done badly, your structure will collapse immediately or will be just very crooked and messy. So that's why in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to structure really good paragraphs for research papers, thesis, or university assignments, so that you know how to do this more effectively. So let's dive right in. If you're new here, my name is Marek Kiczkowiak and I run Academic English Now, where I help early career researchers write more research papers for high impact journals. And in this video, I want to focus on the building block of any academic text, which is a paragraph. And often I see students having a lot of problems writing paragraphs. The paragraphs end up being messy. There is no coherence or cohesions within the paragraphs. They're kind of all over the place. Some paragraphs end up being 1 page long. Some paragraphs are just like one sentence or something like this. And the sentences within the paragraphs, they're kind of about everything and nothing, right? And sometimes people stare at a blank piece of paper for hours and they're not able to produce a single paragraph. But fortunately, there's a very easy fix to that, and I want to show it to you. So in the first part of the video, I'm going to first talk about the fundamental principles of writing a paragraph, and then I'm going to show you with a clear example how it actually looks in practice, and we're going to build a paragraph together. So first of all, what is a paragraph? Well, it's a piece of text that is separated from the rest of text, usually by some space above and below. Sometimes the first line is indented, and usually a good paragraph is between 4 and 9 sentences. And in here I'm talking of course about academic writing. When you read newspapers online or blog posts, you'll see paragraphs of just 1 sentence, but this doesn't interest us at the moment. We're focusing on academic writing. So you want to write paragraphs of at least 4 sentences up to sort of 8, 9 sentences. So on average, you're looking at around 6 sentences approximately. Now, how is a paragraph structured? Typically, a paragraph is structured from general to specific. And this really is a universal principle that applies across the board when it comes to structuring your sections, structuring your entire research paper, and so on, general to specific. So when you're writing a paragraph, the first and the most important thing that you need to define for yourself is what is the main purpose of this paragraph? What is the main idea of this paragraph? And when you've got it, you need to express it in the first sentence, and this is sometimes called the topic sentence. So the first sentence of the paragraph always summarizes the main idea of this paragraph. So it could be something for our purposes, something like the first sentence could be, the main way to structure paragraphs logically is to go from general to specific. So I know that in this paragraph, I'm going to be talking about, structuring paragraphs, but more specifically going from general to specific. And then what I'm going to do is, in the next sentence, I'm going to introduce the first main idea of this paragraph, right? So it could be something like, first you need to start a paragraph with a topic sentence. And then we further explore this first main idea, but we go more specifically, This topic sentence needs to express the main idea of the paragraph and be precise and concise, right? So I start with the main idea of the whole paragraph, then I express the first main point, and then I go more specific and expand on this main point, and then maybe I want to give an example as well, right? And then what you do is, you could then introduce the second main point and do the same. Second main point, expand it a little bit more and have a clear example. And then what you need to do at the end of a paragraph is typically to kind of, have the main takeaway message. So very often what happens is that, when I read students' work, it ends up being very descriptive. You read a paragraph and you just kind of go like, okay, but so what? I mean, what was the point of all this? Why did you tell me all this stuff? And this so what question is very important. When you finish a paragraph, ask yourself, so what? What is the main message that I want to communicate to my reader? And you should aim to communicate that in the last sentence of the paragraph. And if possible, provide some kind of a link to the next paragraph so that, your whole text flows. So this is, a little bit theoretical. So let's dive in and take a look at a real example from a real research paper of a real paragraph and see how this is done in practice. So you might remember that I told you that each paragraph starts with a topic sentence that summarizes the main idea of this paragraph, right? So in here, if we analyze this paragraph, you can very clearly see what this paragraph is going to be about. So it's going to be about more inclusive labels, right? And then I give some of those more inclusive labels later on, right? And then I told you that, from this general idea, we want to go a little bit more specific, right? So that's what I do here. I give a more specific example of one of these kind of labels that I mentioned before, right? And that's the next sentence, right? And then this idea is further developed, right? So in here, I just kind of, in general, introduce that idea and then I further develop it, right? And it's further developed here even more specifically, right? So notice how, I start with a general idea and I go more and more and more specific, developing this idea with every single sentence, right? And then the last sentence kind of summarizes this main idea or the main point of this paragraph. So whenever you finish a paragraph, ask yourself, so what? What is the main point of this paragraph? What am I trying to convey to the reader? And this is what the last sentence does. Also notice, how the ideas are connected. So first of all, right at the beginning of this paragraph, we have a connection to the previous paragraph, and the previous paragraph was about some criticisms. So this simple link in response to these criticisms provides a very logical link, and that's how your text flows very nicely. And then within the paragraph, we've got clear links between sentences, right? So in here, I've got, for example, because I'm giving an example, right? Then in here, I kind of refer back to the terms native and non-native speakers that were discussed in the previous paragraph. So this further provides like a really coherent link between everything, and then we've got another linking word, importantly, which kind of, links back to the previous idea. And finally, the last sentence has these alternative labels, right? So which labels? Well, the ones that were suggested in the first sentence. So notice how this brings back the main idea again, and it's very clear to the reader what we are talking about in this paragraph, right? And then the following paragraph, notice how again it links to the previous paragraph, right? Despite the development of these more neutral terms. Which neutral terms? Well, the ones that we've just discussed, these alternative labels and these terms here, right? And then we've got a very nice link here. And then again, the first sentence expresses the main idea of this paragraph. And then this idea is further developed in the following sentences, right? So this is an example of how, the structure of a paragraph works. And notice that, every paragraph is about, on average 5-6 sentences. And usually, it's at least 4 sentences, right? So this is how, how paragraphing is done in practice. And, you can check it with any academic paper that you're reading, and you will find the very same principles followed. And this is something universal, something all researchers in all disciplines. So in this video, I talked about how to write effective paragraphs for, research papers, thesis, or university assignments, essays, and things like that. And, if you want to work with me more closely, one-to-one, and be able to write more research papers, then definitely book a free strategy session. The link to do that is somewhere in the description to this video. And during that one-to-one strategy session, we're going to identify your exact problems. We're going to pinpoint your exact goals and outline a personalized strategy that will help you to achieve these goals. And if it sounds like it's a good fit, at the end of the session, we can then talk a little bit more specifically about how exactly we could work together to help you to achieve your goals faster. So if you want to book that strategy session, the link is somewhere in the description to this video.